After I first met Tony, I must have mentioned that I was going to a dance that the Conservatives were putting on, and he just showed up. So we went out from then on. We went dancing, walking, went to the cinema, all normal things really. We were in Blaise Castle, sitting on a bench in this big park area, and he just suddenly went down on one knee and asked me to marry him. And I said, of course. I didn't want a long engagement, just long enough to plan the wedding. It was a beautiful day, and the bridesmaids were in yellow and I was in white with veil. The wedding was at Downing Church and the reception was at the Lido at Fish Ponds. We had a sit-down meal, and our honeymoon we went to the Lake District. After we were married, we got a tiny little flat in Clifton. We lived there for 2 years until 1961, when we were expecting our first baby, who we called Jane. We moved to a bungalow in Nailsea, where all the good schools were. And 2 years later, our second baby came along, called Mark. I used to be a tracer in a drawing office for about 7 years. I traced the Olympus plane engines. Tony used to work at Wills doing research in cigarettes. He was always keen on photography. Well, before I knew him really, he belonged to a camera club at Wills, and they set certain subjects that I nearly always used to model for him. Although it was always my back view, and most of the time wearing something red, because that showed up in the photographs. He was from the old school in that as soon as I had the family, he didn't want me to work. He wanted me to stay at home because he didn't think it was fair to leave the children with other people. He just had set values really. He was very kind and generous, took me wherever I wanted to go in the car, loved his children, we got on really well together. We liked doing the same things, especially our holidays. When the children were small, we managed to have a holiday every year. We had the caravans or little farmhouses that we used to rent, and then when they got older we went abroad. Because we were lucky like that, we went to Spain, Portugal, France, etc. After you've had your family, you bring them up and you know that one day they're going to leave. Jane went first to get married, and then Mark left home when he got his job, and he managed to get a house sharing with a friend in Nailsea. That took some getting used to without the children, but it was still Tony and I, and we still used to enjoy our holidays together. The first cruise I went on with Tony, we went to Spain and the Mediterranean. Then we booked up another cruise to go to Norway, but he died before we went on it. Before he died, Tony made me promise that we'd still go on the holidays we'd booked, but to take my old school friend Anne instead. It was a bit sad, but he wanted me to go, so that was it. He made me promise not to sell the house in the first year after he died, but 7 years on and I'm still here. The last thing he made me promise was to take the whole family to Kefalonia in Greece to scatter his ashes, so 3 years later we did. After he went, I had to keep busy. I've got a large garden, so I did a lot of gardening, did housework, decorating, had a lot of friends round and looked after my granddaughter more. You just got to fill up your time. It was nice afterwards because we all got together as a family and decided to buy a little plaque which we've put on Clevedon Pier. That's the place we often used to go walking. So now most years we go to the pier, have a seat next to him, have a cup of tea and just remember him. Sometimes I get a bit lonely and miss his company. I miss having someone to talk to about my day. I miss having someone around all the time and someone to give me a hug. You miss the little things really. There's no point in being miserable though. You've just got to get on with things. Don't really get over it. You just learn to live with it. It's difficult to explain how you feel after you lose someone. You exist in a way when your husband's gone. You promise to spend the rest of your life with someone and then they leave.